Rip it off! Rip it off! Masashi Kishimoto's manga, Naruto, is a beast. And I'm not just talking about the nine-tailed fox that is sealed inside of the main protagonist, Naruto Uzumaki, but rather the media powerhouse that the series became. The manga paved way for an animated series that lasted for far longer than it had any right to, let's be honest. Then came the sequel, Naruto Shippuden, and even a second sequel, Boruto, which goes on to tell the story of Naruto's son, Boruto Uzumaki. Then there's the films, merchandise, and of course, relevant to our topic today, the video games. On the 7th of April 2006, Ubisoft signed a licensing deal with Shueisha, TV Tokyo, Masashi Kishimoto, and Shonen Jump to develop and publish games based on the Naruto franchise. Up until then, games in the Naruto series had been published and developed by Japanese companies exclusively, but Ubisoft was sure they could deliver a game that would rival these other entries. Powered by the Jade engine, which was developed for Ubisoft's open-world title Beyond Good and Evil, Naruto Rise of a Ninja released in late 2007 to favourable reviews. I played the game back when it came out and enjoyed every second of its dense, activity-packed village hidden in the leaves. The game was developed in Canada by Ubisoft Montreal, and features all the staples of Ubisoft's open-world games. These common features include a map brimming with detail, equipment and abilities to upgrade, and especially common in Ubisoft titles, a small handful of in-game activities copied verbatim, which you need to complete over and 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 over again. Despite containing more padding than my secondary school essays, Rise of a Ninja's unlock rate and skill development is satisfying and sufficiently gradual over the course of the game.
12 years ago, a nine-tailed fox suddenly appeared. Its tails lashed out, smashing mountains and sending tidal waves crashing to the shores.
Rise of a Ninja focuses on roughly the first 80 episodes of the Naruto animated series. The story is told fast but not loose, allowing newcomers to pick up the majority of the key story beats. This means that for someone completely new to Naruto, you can experience the glut of the story firsthand, through Naruto's rise from dropout to real ninja. For series fans, however, the game doesn't offer much in the form of new character interactions or scenes. Actually, the majority of the game's animated scenes are in the form of video clips taken directly from the show. These are oddly nostalgic to watch 14 years after the game's release. I think that's a good word to use. Nostalgia is a Greek word, meaning return home, and pain. The bittersweet memories of a time when I was younger, watching Naruto for the first time, which now come flooding back to me as I play this title all these years later. As you play through the early part of the series through this game's story mode, you also have many often repeated side quests to complete. These take the form of rooftop races, hide-and-seek challenges.
Told you I'd find you. Hey, I meant for you to find me. Yeah, that's it.
And fetch quests. These missions help to get you acquainted with the large gameplay area as you bound around like a ball of unbridled energy. At first, the overabundance of speed-focused challenges makes Rise of a Ninja feel cookie-cutter and basic, but it truly fits the character of Naruto well. During his younger days, Naruto is a loud-mouthed, snot-nosed brat with an almost limitless amount of energy. If you knew someone who was constantly bouncing off the walls, wouldn't you give them all the tasks that require a vast amount of speed? So you'll be bounding around delivering pizzas, I mean ramen,
that smells good. Thanks, Naruto.
jumping through checkpoint rings, or hunting down the irritating Konohamaru. And with each activity you do, more townsfolk will open up to you. When the game begins, not one person in town is friendly to you. It's honestly kind of depressing. But as you complete tasks and help out the townsfolk, they gradually begin to take your side. When looking for where to go, you can ask friendly townsfolk for hints or guidance. There's something satisfying about seeing more and more happy faces in town the further into the game you progress. a clear indication of your hard work paying off, and it feels good to know you're helping out around the town. Naruto's story begins with his desire to be appreciated and loved, and it's a journey you get to share with him as you play through Rise of a Ninja. While exploring Konoha, you may find yourself overwhelmed by the size of it. There are rooftops to climb, wires to ride, and secret hidden areas to explore. You may find coins in the trash, behind the bushes, or on rooftops. These, along with the money you make by completing missions, can be used to purchase and improve your weapons, healing items, or purchase powerful skill scrolls. You also gain experience for each completed activity, which can be pumped into new techniques or upgrading your raw attack power. So I haven't yet mentioned how combat works. In a fairly unconventional move, Rise of a Ninja opts for one-on-one tournament fighter style combat. The gameplay switches to a 2.5D plane, and the controls resemble that of a fighting game. You have standard basic attacks, the ability to block, dodge, and if timed correctly, counter an enemy's attack by substituting yourself right before the hit lands. You can also carry weapons such as kunai, which you can use up close to bludgeon the opponent, or from a distance to interrupt their ninja techniques. Think of the ninja techniques as special moves. They require precision and timing to pull off, and they're not a guaranteed win. But getting to know your moves well, and improving your timing, pays dividends in combat. And if you have a kunai handy, tossing one at the enemy while they try to use their jutsu will cause them to fail, leaving them open to a beating.
You are all worthy to be called Genin. You pass.
During the story, there will be moments that have a profound effect on Naruto. These become memo clips, and they're the gamified way of dealing with the moments in the anime where a character is spurred on to win the fight by remembering something important. When a memo clip is activated, you mash a button to restore your energy, bringing you back into battle. It seamlessly integrates a trope of shonen manga into a gameplay feature, which is utterly fantastic. Also, when you're in a pinch, you might find your rage meter has filled. While in rage, you can't take any damage, so use it to turn the tide in more challenging fights. Outside of battle, you can consume ramen from your pouch, restoring your health.
This is the best ramen ever!
The difficulty is therefore quite manageable. If you're an expert at fighting games, you may find the game too easy. But those who aren't great at fighters will find the healing items and equipment upgrades enough to turn the table in their favor. Outside of the story mode, there is a two-player versus mode where you can play as other characters, but the real meat outside of the story mode was the Forest of Death ranked multiplayer. I say was, and not is, because this mode has long since been dead, even though the servers are still up. The game's DLC online multiplayer characters were delisted from the store, and the achievements linked to them were never possible to unlock legitimately due to glitches. To add insult to injury, when Ubisoft discontinued Uplay, many of its games would unlock all the Uplay rewards automatically upon booting the game. However, the Uplay integration in Rise of a Ninja was never patched out, so unlocking Shikamaru for Versus and online play has been impossible for some time. I've gone on this long without talking about the visuals, but I can't keep it in anymore. This is a mostly beautiful game. The environments are gorgeously shaded and well lit, lovingly crafted and intrinsically detailed. I hope whoever was on environment design got paid well, because they certainly put in the work. The base character models for non-player characters haven't aged too well, but they get a pass because you don't often see them up close. The battle models, however, are beautifully detailed and textured, and it's a joy to see them animated in as lively a manner as they are, even for characters that aren't available in the game's Versus mode, such as Mizuki and Iruka. The sound design is also fantastic. Loads of voice lines, really heavy sounding punches and kicks, and new incidental music composed by Ubisoft composer Inon Ze. Though most of the game's soundtrack is actually lifted as is from the animated series, composed by Toshio Masuda, featuring popular and memorable tracks, which will send any Naruto fan straight back to the first time they heard them. This title is absurdly ambitious for its time. Anime games didn't look this good in 2007, and along came Ubisoft pumping all their money into a Naruto title to cash in on the ongoing anime craze in the West. If I had to describe what they managed to create, I'd say they took a PlayStation 2 game and turned RTX on. It looks fantastic, but at its core, it really does feel like a PS2 game rather than something that fully utilizes the Xbox 360's true processing power. From what I hear, the sequel, Naruto the Broken Bond, is an improvement in almost every way, so that's something I'm looking forward to playing at some point. Broken Bond actually went up against the PlayStation 3's Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, so I'm curious to see what Ubisoft did in order to compete with that most excellent title. Bandai Namco's Ninja Storm series has seen many re-releases over the years, including on the Nintendo Switch and Xbox One, but the Ubisoft title stayed on Xbox 360. Which means to this day, the only way to play Naruto Rise of a Ninja legitimately is from an Xbox 360 disc on an Xbox 360 console. If only these games were a little easier to get your hands on. Which is what leads me to the nitty-gritty. We gotta talk about collecting. And we gotta talk about piracy. Today, you can pick up Rise of a Ninja for a tenner and up. It had a wide release in the UK, US, and Australia. Ubisoft wanted this game in the home of every anime lover at the time, and published a decent enough number of copies. Sex is the cheapest option I've seen, with a pre-owned around a tenner, with eBay ranging from around £13, with one as high as £39. Don't pay anything even remotely as high as that? Don't encourage bad behavior. If you want to grab this game, pick up a copy from Sex for a tenner plus postage. Honestly recommend being frugal given the collecting scene these days. As for whether you should rip it off, it's not on any digital storefronts. Ubisoft doesn't even have the rights to sell Naruto games anymore. And nobody involved in the game gets even so much as a penny or a cent from the price of admission. Sure, you could argue there's still rights and IP issues wrapped up in pirating the game, but Masashi Kishimoto isn't going to have one less teriyaki udon this month because you pick up the game through not-so-kosher means. Rise of a Ninja is exactly the kind of substantial single-player game you want for those chill moments of anime bliss. And if you can't find it at a reasonable price, you can spend your bandwidth on a whole lot worse. Owning this physical doesn't provide any benefit over piracy. This phenomenal action-adventure game is a good time all around, and I recommend playing it whatever way you can. This has been the first episode of Rip It Off. Whether you're just a pirate or a collector, thanks for stopping by.